Today, we're going to reveal how solopreneurs can use AI to work fewer hours, increase revenue, and finally escape the trap of doing everything themselves.
Hey, I'm Randy Gage, and of course, you know by now you're listening to the Power Prosperity Podcast. But
This is also going to be an episode of Fortify Live and the Business Growth Show podcast.
that's right, guys. I'm Randy, that's Ford. We are doing a simulcast of the two podcasts because we're doing a project together that we're real excited about that has probably the most impact on your business and future of any podcast you're going to listen to in 2025. And we want to so we want to do it together. So we're going to put it out on both podcasts. So here's how I would set this up for you guys listening and watching. Late 2012, I wrote a book which was published the beginning, it's January, first week in January in 2013. It's called Risky is the New Safe. It was the result of me meeting a cloned puppy and just going down a rabbit hole of technology and the future and what does this mean for entrepreneurs. So I wrote a book about it, and then I wrote a follow-up book called Mad Genius. And both those books, each time they came out, I did the media tour, and people thought I was insane, right? You're talking about being on the moon. You're talking about, houses on the floor of the ocean. You're talking about ride sharing things and artificial intelligence. And, I remember doing Joe Vitale's podcast, and he started shrieking. He was just like, how do you think this way? How do you think this way? So here's the funny thing. I go back and I look at the book recently. I have no more contrarian takes because they've all come true. Everything I talked about in that book is happening as I projected it. So I don't even have any controversial hot takes, right? So this is my approach to the subject. Now, Ford, for you, I'm telling you for my guys on my podcast, Ford is also in the Speaker Hall of Fame with me. He's the author of AI Mindshift and AI Alchemy. He's generated over $1 billion in sales for his clients. So him and we're doing something that I think, here's the funniest thing about this, Ford, to me, and you let me know what you think.
Sure.
For people who wonder, so did they work for OpenAI? Are they used to be programmers with Meta? Ford and I both were on the streets at
Yeah.
15 years old. Ford and I both were at high school, expelled from high school. So if you say, well, why am I watching a show about AI from guys who they don't sound like they're AI experts? That's because there are no AI experts. This space is moving so rapidly that if you asked Elon Musk, if you asked Sam Altman at OpenAI, if you asked the people at Google, they'd all tell you there is no expert. Anybody who
That's
tells
right.
you they're an AI expert, they're full of it. Because if we did this show, if we did this show 3 weeks from now, even other things will change. So to me, I think what calls you and I to it is, and why you've done all my websites, tech, everything for, I don't know, at least 35 years, is because you don't care about any of that, like how does a programmer think? You just care like, okay, what's the outcome we're trying to create here, and how can I use a tool to get it?
Yeah, I would jump in there and say, for my listeners, you can check out Randy Gage at randygage.com. And, one of the prosperity mindset change agents out there. And back to what he said, I think what makes us different when we approach a topic that we're talking about today is, how do you really unleash the power of AI and for a solopreneur and prevent from being obsolete is we look at things through the eyes of business. We don't get seduced by technology. We look at it and say, what outcome are we trying to accomplish? And we work backwards from there. And in a world where everybody with a laptop calls themselves an AI expert right now, there's a lot of danger. And so there's two basic schools of thought. People are either completely overwhelmed, they're sitting on the sidelines, they're trying to figure this whole new world out, or they're dangerously overconfident because they've used ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Copilot, and they've gotten a little bit of success, and then they got lazy. So they start copying and pasting directly out of the AI tools, and then they end up creating brand damage. So we're coming at this from a business perspective.
You know, the story of that client that you had, we won't throw anybody under the bus specifically, but if you could generally share that story of the client, we won't say he or she, but who told you, oh yeah, we got AI in our company, we're using it, everything is fine, we got it all figured out. You
Well,
remember that?
that is more. So I spend my time helping transform and people bridge the gap from where they are to where they want to go. So as a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, I speak at their opening conferences, usually on business growth acceleration, local marketing mastery, and doing a lot on AI innovations, because they want to keep the human in the loop. And it's interesting because whenever I do a pre-event call and they're considering me for the event and they're telling me about their people, then I ask them personally as the meeting planner or the executive team, how well are you really using AI? Oh, we've got it all figured out. And I say on a scale of 1 to 10, with 0, you're a novice, and 10, you're a rock star. Where do you, we're 9s and we're 10s. So after we do the pre-event call, I said, hey, can we just share the screen real quickly? And so I shared the screen, and this person had ChatGPT, had no custom settings. All their data was going in to train the AI. And prior to that, I said, are you keeping your data private? Oh, yeah, we do all that. They were shocked when I shared the screen for the CEO, and they were using ChatGPT's, not even the team version, because that keeps it safe. They were using the main version of ChatGPT with no custom settings, and all their data was being used to train the AI. So needless to say, I got the booking, and then I got a follow-up series with them. But that just illustrates the point that you don't know what you don't know. And to really approach this topic, you need to be open-minded, coachable, curious, and accountable, and realizing that you won't know it all. And so even though we're going to share some things with you today on this episode that we're both simulcasting on our podcast, it's about that critical thinking brain and realizing that it's moving so quickly, but there are some formulas that Randy and I have cracked the code on that can really help you accelerate.
Here's my thought, and I'd love to hear your take. I believe we are now approaching we're in the most cataclysmic transformation in human history. And I'm equating this like if we look at things like the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, electricity being adopted, the invention of, the discovery of fire, those kind of things. I think artificial intelligence is going to impact humanity more than any of those other things. Am I crazy, or what do you think about that?
I think you're underestimating the impact of what it's going to have. When I hear speakers, when I hear speakers say, "Oh, it's just like when radio became TV and TV became the internet." No. This is a sentient being. The aliens have landed. It has agentive AI, has simulated thought. Now, it also is like a toaster on autocomplete, so it simulates human behavior. But because humans are so gullible, it becomes so supportive that when you ask it if this is a good idea, it's trained to support you. So what's happening is psychologically, the AI is becoming friends. And I use AI. I mean, I have a custom GPT, and when I have an idea, I mean, I was really pissed off. I had a client hadn't paid me, and I had some things. And I went to ChatGPT and I turned on my phone and I just started having a conversation. And it knows me so well. And it said, Ford, you're a critical thinker. When was the last time you're on your bike? Have you been getting enough sleep? And I'm like, wow, what a great thing. Would you like me to give you a playlist of positive YouTube videos to, here it was helping me. And it really did help, by the way. So the funny thing is it really did help. But then when I was working on the AI Alchemy book, and I wrote the book, okay, I wrote the book, but I wanted to write the book like a fable. One of my, both of us know Bob Berg, and he did The Go Giver, and it was a fable. And I thought, I want to approach AI differently and not talk about the bells and whistles, but talk about the mindset and do it through a narrative. So I used AI to help me come up with the narrative and the flow. But it was interesting because it would get me 70% there, and then I'd write the other 30%, make it mine and make sure it was unique. But then I would say, okay, here's the whole book. Go through the whole book. And do I have a clear through line? Am I redundant in any places? And then it would say, well, chapter 3, chapter 6 is a little bit redundant. You kind of tell the same story in a different way. And then I'd go back and I'd look and it wasn't told the same way. So then I would challenge the AI and say, hey, I just read chapter 3 and chapter 6. I don't think it actually is redundant. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I've made a mistake. I think your first version was better. And I'm like, what the, you know, so I'm just saying that, you're going to get some, it is back to your question about the impact. It's going to impact relationships, marriage, education. I mean, both you and I know Nito Quabain from High Point, and I've got an honorary degree from High Point University because he got tired of me telling everybody in my audience that I had a ninth grade education. He's like, no, I'm going to give you a degree, and now you have to behave. You can't cuss. So you notice I won't be cussing. I have my own beep button. And he said, you need to behave because now you represent High Point. But one of the things he was talking about is his professors were using AI to grade the papers and the students were using AI to write the papers. And what's interesting is now the AI tools, including ChatGPT, now have a student mode, which means you can use ChatGPT in student mode. Instead of just getting the answer, it's going to walk you through the critical thought to actually come up with the answer, because otherwise the educational system is going to be just turned upside down. So the back to your key point.
And I don't know, you probably know this, but in case you don't, for the viewers, and there's, I'll call it teacher mode. That's my
Yeah.
name. I don't know what they call it, but that tells the professor who wants to read the paper or grade the paper how much and exactly what in that paper was written by AI and not the student.
Yeah, those are AI detectors. And the challenge with those are you have to use them with a grain of salt too, because as soon as it's like a teeter totter, as soon as the AI detectors get better, then the AI gets better at
Yep.
writing like a human.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
so just, you have to just look through that lens. Going on to your next point, the key point for everybody listening and watching this is AI is going to disrupt everything. It's going to disrupt, and already is, the buyer behavior and the customer journey, but it's also going to affect employees. And when people are bringing me in, one of the main things they're asking me now is, can you help our employees be confident that they're not just going to get replaced? And I just tell them there's no such thing as job security. There's only skill security, right? You got to learn these new skills because they're still going to need people, but the redundant jobs that are repetitive, those are going to get taken up by AI. And so we have to look at how can we use new skills. And today we want to really focus on, solopreneurs, those people that want to use content to really leverage their brand, because when AI is writing content and the engines are content and there is no search engines anymore. I mean, okay, yes, Google exists, guys and girls, but if you go to Google right now, the whole homepage has already been replaced with AI. And so you have to do answer engine optimization to create content. And we're going to go deeper on the core beliefs here in a minute, but you've got to create answers to what your ideal client or prospect or vendor, whoever you're trying to communicate, maybe you're a candidate and you're trying to hire people, are looking for. Because it's no longer you go to Google and you type in a search phrase. Everything is going to be AI, and it already is.
Yeah, so going deeper in this disruption. So I'm on social I have like a few really smart accounts, smart people that I will mindfully go and check their timeline, right? Because I don't want this toxic sludge that social media has become. But so there's a post on there last week, a guy, man, I wanted to help my mom out. She's got a tough job. So I went to her workplace and I helped set up some AI agents to do workflow where they automate some of
Right.
the repetitive things. And I showed my mom and I showed her coworkers and her boss. Today, they laid off 20 people, including my mom. And you're going to hear that again and again and again and again. People say, I'm hearing, hey, tens of millions of jobs are going to be disrupted by technology, by AI in particular. And I say, no, that's not true. I think it's somewhere close to 3 billion, 2 to 3 billion jobs. And people think, yeah, but there's not that many pick and pack warehouse workers who are going to be replaced by robots. And there's not that many programmers who are going to have most of their workflow done by AI instead of them, their programming. No, but six-figure executive jobs are going to get replaced. Seven-figure executive job. Let me put something out here in public for my podcast, people who know me. I'm always talking about mind viruses and how we get programmed and how I can tell you every book, radio, television show, movie, opera, play. I can tell you whether it's going to be a hit or not with the first draft based on how people are portrayed in the script. How do we portray rich people? How do we portray poor people? Right. So when there is a bomb where a movie that bombs and they say, man, the studio spent $80 million doing that and $40 million promoting it, and it took in $50,000 and the biggest flop in Hollywood history. I'm always like, if they just send me that script and 20 grand check, I could look through it in an hour and say, that's going to be a that's going to be a blockbuster hit, or that's going to be a flop, just by based on how are they portraying, are they showing that rich people are evil? Are they showing that it's honorable or spiritual or noble to be poor? Right? And I could do that, but here's the scary thing. Now AI could replace me. So I can't even get my 20K check anymore because if they literally just read my book, if they just took my book, Radical Rebirth, put it in their AI model and said, hey, get the chapter on memes, mind viruses, programming, what causes people to act, how these memes parasitize the host and cause the host to replicate the mind virus. And then apply that to every movie script that comes across the transom. And you could take a movie script for Gone with the Wind and put it in, or the
Sure.
new Avengers movie or the new whatever, and in 2 seconds, I mean, literally 2 seconds, it'll read the whole script and give you the data, the conclusion. So right now, that's a job in Hollywood at a studio. Somebody makes seven figures to do that job right now, right? The person who's works at Pixar or Disney or whatever,
Marvel.
Amazon Studios. Well, no, Disney owns them too. They own everything. They own MGM, they own Marvel, they own Star Wars, they own Disney, right? They own Pixar. But the few left, any one of them, the guy or the gal who green lights that $100 million movie, that's a seven-figure income. And they could be replaced with the $20 a month subscription on Chat
ChatGPT.
GPT if they just put in my Radical Rebirth book to train the model. That's
Yeah.
where we're at. I
Yeah,
mean,
the disruption is huge, and I think if solopreneurs really understood how AI can not only simplify their business but free up their time so they could spend their time on the highest and best use, they'd see it's not about replacing themselves; it's about amplifying. So again, it's not an or. Is it me or is it AI? It's an and. It's going to be used by everybody in every facet, and it's going to become so natural. It's just like when you turn on a TV or you turn on your car. You don't really care how you turn on your car and the spark goes to the coil and it ignites your starter and your starter turns over the motor and the compression's at the top of the compression. Then the spark fires and nobody cares. You just get in the car, turn the car on, and you go. And AI, even though we're in the wild, wild west right now, it's advancing so quickly and it's multimodal because it can see, it can hear, it can speak, it can talk, it can write. And now it's built into wearable hearing aids. It's built into eyeglasses. Meta just came up with some new glasses. Oakley has AI glasses. I had Brandon Sowal, which is one of the largest manufacturers of, you don't call them hearing aids, by the way, but they're wearable technology.
Right.
And he set me up with a pair, and I thought, go get your hearing test. So I got my hearing test. I had perfect hearing, and he said, but I want you to wear these around for a while because anywhere I'm at, I don't have them on right now, but everywhere I go, if they're speaking another language, it just automatically translates it. I don't have to open up an app. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
So just imagine how it's going to change communication and how it's going to change the world. And as solopreneurs, there's some really cool things that we want to share with you on how you can actually leverage it. But first of all, what we're covering is the disruption part to open your eyes to look, this isn't going away. You're not going to put the genie back in the bottle. The greatest fear with AI isn't adopting it too soon. It's just waiting too long and falling behind.
I do a media outlet with Jaime Lokier, and so we've been talking about this a lot, of course, over the last 2 years. And about a month ago, I was on a call with him with somebody, and they were in their Zoom room, and they hadn't set up the interpreter and blah blah blah. So
Right.
I took my agent and I said, I don't want to say his name or it'll turn him on, but hey,
Right.
so and so. I'm here in a Zoom room with these guys, and they need to set up the interpreter thing, and they only speak Spanish. So do me a favor, would you explain to them how they could do it? And of course, they were gobsmacked. They were just like, because they have doing nothing on it. They're that part that just says, I'm scared as hell of that. I'm not even going to think about it. Just let me, see if I can make it till I'm dead without having to do this. And the answer is, if you're going to retire in 2 years, maybe three, you could get away without learning this. But if you plan to work after 3 years from now, you can't run away with it. So those kind of things. So Jaime and I are talking afterward, and I said, "Dude, I'm spending an hour to 2 hours a day just experimenting on different AI, on Perplexity, on Chat, on Claude, on everything, on HeyGen." And he said, "I know I'm afraid myself that I'm spending too much time experimenting on it." And I told him, Jaime, at this stage of the game, you can't spend too much time experimenting with AI. You can only spend too little.
I would agree.
All right. So, what I need to get across to people, like I have so many people who follow my work in direct selling. I have so many people who follow my work who are what I would call information entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, consultants, those kind of things.
Trainers and authors and experts. Yeah. Thought
Yeah.
leaders.
Yeah, and I was just speaking at the National Speakers Association convention a month ago, as you were,
Yep.
and I was telling people a year from now, 2 years from now, nobody is going to pay you for what you know. They're going to pay you for what you think. So maybe let's start with that. My premise is you have got to become iconic. You have to become the definitive expert in your space, whatever that space is. It's not like I don't even go along with the conventional wisdom that says, you should be the number one expert in your space. I believe you should be the only expert in your space, right? You find your niche, you find your space that you're so specialized, you're so good in this one particular area that you're just iconic because that's the only way you're going to be discoverable by AI, right? Because
Yes.
all the webmasters you hired to do SEO optimization and how you built your website and how you constructed your social media posts and all the blog articles where you put in the keyword 217 times because some moron told you that that was a good way to catch
Right.
traffic. None of that shit's going to work anymore. It's all gone. It's done and dusted, right? You've got to build. And here's the other thing, and I love your thoughts on this. What I'm telling all my clients right now is stop building your corporate brand. Nobody gives a damn about your corporate brand. The brands we care about today, the brands we talk about today, you know why we talk about them? Because of the personal brand of the person who runs them. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, J.K. Rowling, whoever. we don't want, like, I'm fighting with a client right now. They just, they hired some consultant a year ago and they went to the Holiday Inn or wherever the hell they go and they did their vision statement and their mission statement and their core corporate values. And so they send me this script of this video that they want to put out that they think is going to help their representatives bring revenue. And then I'm just throwing up all over it and saying, nobody cares about any of that. There's not a person. I asked them, would you like to have any millennials attracted to your business? They're like, well, of course, that's what we want. Okay, do you realize there's no person in the world under 40 who would sit through the first 20 seconds of that video without bailing? Oh, our values are, our mission statement is, we are a purpose-driven, value-added corporation that believes in the future of human potential. And I mean, it's a word salad. We want to know who runs this company. Do they play Fortnite? Are they vegetarian? Do they love playing chess? Do they do sports? What do they think of the hot vaccine or no vaccine? And I know that's a third rail. You got to be careful on that stuff. But I mean, they want to know, who is this person? Who is this? Who's behind this company that wants me to spend my money with them? What are they all about? What's their reason for being? Who's running it? What kind of people are there? Are they the kind of people I want to hang out with, that I would want to have a cup of green tea with or go out for a beer with? And so I'm telling all my clients, build let's build out the personal brand of your key people and do it in a customer facing way. Because there's two ways you can write a bio, right? You can say, Mary attended Loyola University and she received her MBA degree and da 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 da, and it's all features. Or you could say, Mary helps people create second incomes and side gig businesses through her technology or through her methodology, right? We can take a feature type of thing like a bio or an about section on a website, and we can make it beneficial to the candidates. And that kind of thing, if we do it right, is also going to make the difference when AI is searching for answers.
Yeah, and my market, I speak to corporations, associations. I do a lot in franchising and manufacturing, insurance, pharmaceuticals, financial services, and they're all business owners. And I also run a digital marketing agency. Randy mentioned it in the opening of our episode today. I have primeconcepts.com. It's a boutique agency, and we work with branding. And whenever I have a client that we're redoing and transforming their brand to help them expand their exposure and attract more ideal clients, I tell them, look, you don't own your brand. You can influence your brand, but your brand is owned in the minds of your prospects and your ideal client. And that's basically the same thing Randy just said differently, is that, if you want to be successful and you want to be iconic, you have to be able to get into the minds of your ideal customer, ideal client, and your prospects with value-added information that's transparent and timely, topical, and relevant, so that people get a chance to really see your brand. And no one shops the way they used to. Rain and I are famous for writing sales letters and landing pages and funnels. Way before Russell Brunson did ClickFunnels, we were doing sales funnels. Nothing against Russell. I mean, he's done huge, right? But the point of how sales are made and information is transferred has changed. And so it's no longer linear. It's multifaceted, because people search, they scroll, they stream, and then they shop. They're not just going to one place. I mean, even me, Perplexity is my main shopping tool. I go to Perplexity. I just spoke for a company called United Benefit Advisors. Some of those will probably be watching my episode. And I set my iPhone up at the back of the room. It's a 4K camera. But because it was such a big room, it didn't get me clear footage. And so then I went to Perplexity and I said, look, I don't want to, pay for a 4K camera. I don't want to carry all this camera group together. And it said, well, you should be using the DJI, 3 camera. And so I went in down the rabbit hole before this episode. And then I typed in, well, I want to get the 3. It's only around $1,500. But then it said the 4 is coming out in October, November. So I'm like, okay, but I wouldn't have been able to get that same type of narrative by going to Google. And the reason that came up is because Perplexity searched Reddit, they searched Substack, they searched ChatGPT, they searched Google. So I'm getting much more effective output and insights into what I'm trying to do because of how AI works versus a regular browser. And now you've got a Agentic browser. Just this week, Google came out and they're including Gemini with their browser. So if you update the newest version of Chrome, when you're on Chrome, it's going to open up a side panel, and now Gemini is sitting right there watching you, just like Perplexity has Comet, just like ChatGPT has agent mode. So you're just going to start seeing it take over more pieces, and it's going to become irrelevant. And as we think about the next piece that you're going to do, Randy, I'll just share this one quick story. So my wife, Elisa, does not like technology. She doesn't like Wi-Fi. She doesn't like the Apple Watch I got her. She's a Pilates instructor and very a kind spirit, and she just doesn't really like technology. Doesn't even want a remote control for the TV, right? And so when I was speaking in Phoenix, and I wanted to go to breakfast, she wanted to go to this health nutrition place, organic breakfast place. And so I ordered a Waymo taxi. Have you ever been in one of those, Randy?
I still haven't ridden in one.
So I ordered one. I get the app.
You ordered a Waymo and expected her to ride in?
Now listen. So the car comes up and she said, well, why is the Google car, because she thought because it had all the cameras, it was the Google car that does Google Local and all that. And I said, no, this is our taxi. She bends down. It's a Jaguar. She bends down, looks in the front window and says, and she does not cuss. She's like, no, I mean, she went on a Tourette syndrome rant that I was like, she was possessed. And I said, honey, I'm about technology and innovation. Can we please just do this? So she gets in the front seat. It's on YouTube. You guys can Google my name and Waymo, and you can go watch the video because I videotaped it. So we get in the car, and it pulls out of the Ritz-Carlton.
She's in the front seat.
She's in the front seat. I'm in the back laughing and filming her. And it pulls out.
Thinking if she's in the front, she has a better chance to dive over and grab the steering wheel or slam on the brakes, probably.
You got it. And so we pull out, and she's turning white. She's screaming, get me out of this freaking thing. It goes to a four-lane corner where it had to turn. And now I'm getting a little concerned because it kind of pulled out in traffic, but a bus was coming, and so it kind of did a little bit. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to pull out in front of this bus. But it didn't. The bus went by. We turned the corner. We go about another mile down the road, and a homeless person in a wheelchair was wheeling themselves across the road. And now we're playing chicken with this homeless person in a wheelchair, unhoused, if we want to be politically correct, I don't care. But it was pulling out. And so we finally got by it. We went to breakfast, and she calmed down a little bit. So we had a really nice breakfast. Of course, I was very quiet, didn't push the issue. But when we got done, I said, look, do you want to take a Waymo back, or do you want to just take an Uber? She said, no, I'll take a Waymo. Because it's not, at least the driver's not distracted texting. And so it was interesting how her brain went from completely psychotic in 10 minutes to justifying the technology by finding her answers to justify it by saying, well, at least it's not a distracted driver. At least it's safe. At least it's not, going over the speed limit. And her whole mind shift changed. So the reason I tell that story is, think about you with AI. I mean, you might be on the sidelines, or maybe you've jumped in with both feet, but it's advancing so quickly now with AI generated videos and AI agents and avatars, and uploading a photo. You can upload your historical photos of your family and bring them to life. I mean, it's just nuts. Now, I know this episode, it's not about the bells and whistles. It's how do you prepare your mindset to be a critical thinker, and then how do we actually do this? So do you want to share some of the secrets, or where do you want to go?
Yeah, let's talk about the first one, which is myths. Let's blow up some of the myths that might be preventing you from unleashing the power of AI. And myth number one, which is huge, is Well, I don't have the capacity for that. I don't have the budget for that. AI is for big tech companies, or AI is for big companies that it's just too complex for me. What would you tell those? Because that's what the real estate agents and the salespeople and the network marketers and the speakers are like, well, I get a list of meeting planners and I cold call 10 every day. And I say, hey, do you hire speakers? Do you have an event coming up? Do you pay them? Do you, and they think that that's like, right? I mean, those people they will be out of the business in 3 years if they don't change. So
6 months.
what will you tell these people who think AI is too complex for them?
Well, the truth is, start where you are, start simple, get complicated later. Every solopreneur, everybody listening to this episode can leverage AI for the wheel of excellence in their business, whether that's marketing, sales, improving the customer experience, or improving operations. Not only can it produce content, it has deep research, deep thought, analytical. It can certainly review financials. It can help find opportunities. Some of my franchise brands, we've set up AI workflows for them to use the location data of their system-wide sales to help identify better locations in the future. Where they used to have to pay $50,000 to $100,000 for a site research, now they're getting some of the answers using AI. It's not a replacement, everybody, but it's one of those
Well, wait
things.
a second. If you're the guy or gal who
Yep.
works at that company who does the $50,000, $100,000 contracts to work for Midas Muffler or McDonald's or Burger King or Subway and help them scout a franchise location, you're out of work. You've been
Yeah.
replaced.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first myth is it too complex? And the answer is no. You can all start doing it today. I, as an action step, would recommend that everybody at least downloads ChatGPT onto your phone. Pay the $20. If you have a team version, it's 25. But I would start using it on your phone and having conversations with it. When I do that now, I still can't believe it's 3 years since I've been doing that I've been doing these AI presentations. And even last week in Denver, I said, raise your hand if you do not have ChatGPT on your phone. 500 people in the room, 400 people raised their hand. And I was just like, wow, I really thought more people would have downloaded it on their phone. But then even the ones that downloaded, I said, raise your hand if you're using the Audible versions and they're like, what do you mean Audible? And I would pull up my phone and do it, just like what you do with your person who I won't name because it'll start talking. But yeah, the first myth is it's not too complex. You can do it.
Yeah, and I only have that person because I was at that event at the NSA convention where we both spoke. You asked that same question to the room, and I was
Yep.
one of the people who said, no, I don't want it on my phone because I hate having all these apps on my phone and I need eyeglasses and they're too small and my fingers are too big for the buttons. And you said, just use the voice quality, the voice
And you're
aspect.
like, what kind of app is that? And I'm like, no, it's built into ChatGPT and it's built into Perplexity. So here's a foundation as we go to the next thing. This is gonna help you save at least 10 hours of repetitive work per week using ChatGPT and Claude and using AI agents. And that's one of the reasons we created this masterclass that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But really, using the voice activation, what that does is it teaches. What I was going to say is when one AI agent comes or one AI model adds a new feature, then the next one adds a new feature. Because people always say, well, what's your favorite? And I'll say, oh, my favorite as of right now, because I didn't use Gemini for a long time because it was just biased and it gave me crappy answers. Now, the research shows that Gemini is downloaded more often and used more than ChatGPT in some cases. So, and then of course, some companies are Microsoft based and they use Copilot. But don't get seduced by the actual technology. You just got to be open minded and start using these tools.
Yeah, so now for we said before, and we were arguing with people in that event in wherever Phoenix, I guess we were, and they were saying, well, no, AI isn't going to die. AI, not AI, SEO. SEO
Right.
isn't ever going to die. And my response was, it already did.
Yep.
The body is
Traditional
laying on the
traditional
page.
SEO is dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So. the other myth that I see for people is because, look at what Gary Vee is doing. So he's out there doing talk after talk, podcast after podcast. Almost nobody in the world is as good doing what they do as Gary Vee is, right? So he's out there, post 8 times a day on Instagram and 10 times a day on TikTok and 5 times a day on YouTube and 10 times a day on LinkedIn. And what's the matter with you? Are you stupid? Are you lazy? And for a real person in the real world, they're going to be like, get out of here, get out of my face. I don't have time for that. Right. And the truth is, they don't. If I was really successful building my brand with social media, right? I took Twitter very seriously. When I got it nailed down, then I did YouTube. When I built up my YouTube channel, then I went to Facebook. When I did that, then I did platform by platform, the hottest one and I feel like I probably monetized better from social media than maybe anybody on earth. Like there's people who are incredible social media following, but they don't really monetize it. I really did turn that into customers and book sales and
Yeah,
seminar
so have I.
stuff. Yeah, in a really good way. Um, but I spent 2 hours a day on social media at the Advent when it was really, and that was the best 2 hours a day I could spend. I don't have 2 hours a day anymore. Most people today don't have 2 hours a day anymore. So I think the myth out there is content marketing is too time consuming. And but AI has an answer for that.
Yeah, with the right AI powered workflows, it's level 4 in my 4 levels. You can generate content that's unique and iconic. You can do the research. You can do the new facet of SEO, which is AEO, which is answer engine optimization. It's just a fancy way of saying, so SEO, you would have keywords so that Google could come in and understand what the content is. Well, now, since AI is coming to your site, the first thing you have to do is make sure your site is enabled to have the chatbots read your content, because when we used to build websites, we used to prevent the chatbots from scraping our data because we didn't want them to scrape the data. Well, now that is flipped upside
Real
down.
quick, let me just jump in there real quick. If 100 people call you and ask you to review their website, how many do you think have that disabled?
70 to 80% depends on what their model is. Depends
Wow.
on how forward thinking they are. Um, and the challenge is, it's kind of like you and I grew up in the age where we had the white pages, remember? And we
Yeah.
would, when the book came out, you opened up the white pages, this big thick book, and you just wanted to see that your address and your name and your phone number was in the white pages because you wanted everybody to know your. And now it's like this privacy thing. So it's a shift, right? Well, it's the same thing with websites. At first you wanted to prevent people from going, the chatbots from going to your website. It was okay to have Google because you wanted to be indexed, but you didn't want to have AI do it. And now you need to turn it on so AI can read it and make sure that you have the content that's timely, topical, and relevant on your website. So the real shift for everybody in layman's terms here is, don't think SEO, think answer engine optimization. How do you understand, and we'll talk about some of the workflows, but the truth to this myth is it's not too time consuming. Once you create the workflows and you plan and you can trigger the workflow to automate the research, the content, the repurposing, the unique voice on your brand and methodologies, to then create the bait. So think about yourself being in a fishing boat and you've got all the fish underneath you. You've got to put the bait in the water to get the fish into your boat. And that's what AEO does.
All right. So third myth that I think we got to blow up is that what's keeping people from this is they're saying, well, I'd have to learn all this stuff and then I have to do everything myself, or I have to hire a huge team to do, because it's wonderful for Gary Vee to broadcast everything
Yeah,
he
he's
does.
made adult
Okay.
money.
But let's be real. he has 7 people who follow him everywhere he goes, including into the bathroom, and film and record every second of every day. So, of course, and then he's got a team of 60 people who chop it all up into content. The average person can't do that. But AI has an answer for that too.
Yeah, AI agents can handle your lead capture, your content distribution, your client onboarding, make calls for you, and more. There's an example. So with my first book, AI Mindshift, I created a workflow. I'm not teaching you how to do this, but I want you to get the concept of it. So I basically took the book with the 15 chapters, created a workflow where it put all 15 chapters into an Airtable, which is similar to Google Sheets or Excel. And then it had a workflow where it took each chapter out to ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and did the research based on my chapter and gave me 10 short form video scripts, 10 tweets for X, and social media posts and episodes that I could use on my podcast for each chapter, put them back into Airtable into a status called review. Then all I had to do was look at it and go, I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to, cancel because maybe it came up with some that weren't really relevant. And then once I clicked approved, then it triggered the workflow to then go out to HeyGen, take that script and create an avatar video and go to 11 Labs using my voice and create the audio. Now I know, most of us right now, we can detect an AI created content, but for short form videos, especially with B-roll, I can show you one. You will not know if it's real or not. And it's gotten that good. And that's as of today. In 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it's even going to be better. So the outcome here is to be thinking, how can I repurpose? What workflows can I do? And you might be saying, well, that sounds kind of complicated. You're kind of going against your own myth. Well, AI can help you solve AI problems. There are some things you should hire out, and you absolutely should. So as you're listening to this, some things you're going to do yourself, and some things you're going to hire, but you have to make sure you hire someone competent. Check their Google reviews, check their workflows. Start small, get complicated later, because a lot of people right now are trying to, get rich quick on AI, and I'm going to help you do all these things. But they haven't even done it. Like I just had a good friend of mine. You know who he is. I'll just mention him if he's listening. That's great. His name's Joel Comm, right? You know Joel. He's done a lot.
Book, right?
Yeah. He had one of the highest revenue generating apps on the iPhone when it first came out. Well, I just had Joel on my episode on Fortify Live, and he's got a new community called AI for Everyone. He's semi-retired, he's made his money, and now he's just playing with AI tools. And so I was expecting to really get some, mind-blowing insights because he's doing this all day long. We got off the episode, and he goes, "What's a custom GPT? What do you mean privacy settings?" And I was like, sorry, Joel, if you're listening to this, he's a good friend and smart man, very innovative.
Very bright guy.
Yeah. So I'm not, but I mean, it just goes to show you. And the reason I share that is I'm humbled all the time. I was on my AI masterclass a month ago, and someone in the chat said, "Do you know about Perplexity Comet?" And I said, "No, I don't know. What's Comet?" Well, Comet had just been released a week earlier on Perplexity, and it was on beta test, so people could go out and do it, just like Perplexity has labs where it can do deep research and so forth. I just found out yesterday about a feature that's been in ChatGPT forever called notifications. You can actually go to ChatGPT and go to settings, go to notifications, create a prompt, and it will run at a certain time. Like you could say, like you're a big baseball fan, Randy. You could create ChatGPT with a notification and tell it, go watch these teams, and when something interesting happens, give me a synopsis every morning at 9 a.m. And so it's just going to sit there and look at the internet, and then it's going to say, oh, this player got traded, or this is the score, or this is the game. Right. But that's different than just news. So it's kind of like Google Alerts on steroids. But the point is, back to the workflows, this myth, it's not, you can do these things now, but some of it you should hire out. But you need to at least understand strategically, and that's what well, Randy. One of the things that makes us great. We've been working together for decades. Is I know Randy doesn't want the technical stuff. He's going to be outcome focused, very strategic, just like Terry Shodine, one of our close friends. Terry's a client of mine and she's done amazing. And whenever I'm working with her and she's a high end client of mine, I know not to tell her anything technical because as soon as I start, she's going to shut me off. Nope. It's not the highest misuse of my time. I'm not doing it. That's why she's so successful. And so you want to find people to do the work that actually know how to do the work.
Yes. So I'm going to give everybody, both podcasts, I'm going to give you a challenge action step. I'm going to give you a challenge action step of invest $1,000 into your AI education by attending a webinar that Ford and I are going to do. Now, if you're watching this when the episode first airs, it's coming up in a few days. It's October 9th, 2025. If you're watching a replay of this and it's already November or December or whatever, just know we've already booked a second one in January of 2026 because of the demand of this one, of people saying, and here's the funny thing, Ford, is you and I both know. So we're going to do it in October, November, December, January. So 3 months later, we're going to do another one. And probably 80% of it will be different.
Yes.
Because so much will have changed in 3 months, right? So the challenge, so anyway, so it's $1,000 this webinar, but it's actually less. If you pre-register, you get 200 off. So I think it's 777.
Yeah, I think it's 777 on the day of the event. It's $1,000, but if you pre-register, and also you get the video replay. So, and again, the reason we did this is we didn't want to just do. And I've done a lot of free AI master classes, and those are great, but the quality of person who comes, they don't always take the action. This is for solopreneurs that really want to learn how to navigate these new tools and leverage them in a way that makes you iconic, to actually repurpose not only but identify what content you should be creating and actually create that content to go out. And we're going to give you a link to where you can go learn more. Whatever platform you're watching this on, there'll be a link in the description where you can go and you can learn all the details about the event. But this is not a free event. This is a paid event. And when you told me 777, usually, guys, just so you guys know, for years Randy's been my prosperity mentor, and he'd say, "What are you going to charge?" And I'm going to say, "I'm going to charge 10 grand." He goes, "Wait, did I hear you right? Did you say 10 grand or 100 grand?" Like, he's always adding zeros. So when he started to do this, he said, "What do you think we should charge?" And I'm like, it's worth 5 grand. It really is. But they don't know what they don't know. And so they're probably not just going to, they probably don't believe that it's worth 5 grand until they get on the show. I said, "Why don't we do it for $1,000 bucks?" And then he said, "Okay, well, psychologically, 777 is a great." And sevens are great. We've been a marketer for years. So we've got this October 9th. It's going to be from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern. So check your local listings for the time. Get registered. Get your team registered. And then everybody gets the replay. And this is going to be an interactive. It's not just going to be Randy and I talking. We're going to give you live demos. You're also going to get bonus materials to help you leverage it.
This demo thing. Because here's what you guys, I want you to see, because I'm that non-tech guy. Like when he's talking about Terry, I'm the same way. If you saw us when we have a Zoom, you would just laugh. We're like the odd couple. We're like, I don't know what, because I'll say, "Wait a second, you just said the 5 keys to, wait a minute, let me write those down." And then he'll say, "Repeat them." And he'll say, "Okay, the first one is book." And I say, "Okay, great." And he's, "Well, let me explain no, I don't want to know that. I just want to know the name. Number 2, what is it? It's this. The reason, let me tell you, no, don't tell me all that. Just give me the 5 things. I know, right? I don't want to know how it works. You
don't need to know
the background. I want to know, how do I take that and make a bigger impact with my tribe? How is it going to save me time? How is it going to make me more money? How is it going to make me more proficient? How's it going to make me more productive? How's it going to make me more effective? How will it improve if I teach this to my clients? How will this enable them to be more efficient, productive, proficient, all of those things. So what I've done so far with Ford is I've actually built a CEO agent. This is like a position that if a human was doing it, I'd be paying 300, $400,000 a
Yeah,
year.
easy.
So we've trained that to think like me. And I can really put big picture things in there and get critical thinking analysis. And it's mind blowing to me. At least if you're wondering, like, hey, should I attend this thing that Ford and Randy are doing? Here's the simple way to tell this. If you're using an AI something, one of the platforms, more than 100 times a day, maybe you don't need to attend. But if you're using it any less than at least 100 times a day, you're foolish if you don't attend. And it's free. It's free. It's free. Even though we're saying it's $1,000, you will learn so much that saves you so much money. You're not paying anything. It's like same thing I tell my clients. They're like, "You're proposing a $2 million consulting contract." I'm like, "I work for free. Okay, if you can't earn an extra $2 million in sales from what I'm going to implement with you, then you're not even trying." Okay, so you don't pay me anything. Yes, you're going to send me $2 million, but it's not costing you anything,
Right.
right? Same for this event. So for you now, so I'm gonna Ford will explain the process for how you set up a co-CEO. He'll actually give you the code. Like,
We'll
here's
do it
how you
live.
do it.
Yeah.
You go to this, right? We'll do that live. Then I'm going to talk about, though, here's how you apply this. Here's how you make money with this. Here's how you save time with that. Then we're going to show you my agent that we created for a media outlet that I run on how to create content. And you're going to see, then we're going to show you something we created for my podcast. So I can say, all right, next week, I think I'm going to invite Mary Smith on my podcast. I check out with Mary. She says, yeah, I'd love to do a show. So I go to my agent and I say, Mary Smith is going to be my guest next week on the podcast. The agent gives me possible name for the show, gives me the best hook to promote the show. It researches Mary Smith, writes the introduction that I'm going to read on air to introduce her. It will produce a list of sample questions exactly relevant to my show, my audience, the things that my viewers and listeners care about. And, and that's all going to take like 11 and a half seconds, by the way. So that's somebody I would probably pay 50 grand a year. That it's done in within my $20 a month GPT sub. And then
100%.
we're going to do a workflow thing. This is something that as Ford just described when he wrote his book and said, okay, go out there, take these chapters, create what are the questions would be answered? What are the modules we'd create for that? Let's send it to Hey Gen and get some video produced. Let's send it to 11 Labs and get some audio clips produced. Let's think of some social media hooks. You can automate all that stuff. That's an agency that you'd pay 300,000, 400,000 a year that you're going to get for a few thousand. So that's what this event is going to be live. Okay, we're going to really, so if you're a foolish person who wants to save money and learn how to program, like how you would do that, you'll learn it. If you're a smart person, you're going to watch. Get your hand ready for that button. You're going to watch and you're going to say, holy, okay? You're going to say, oh, because you're going to say, of course, I was not going to try and program all that myself. If I just hire someone to do that little workflow thing, that would save me literally 100 hours a year, literally
or more.
$100,000 a year or $200,000 a year. And it will allow me, for all you guys who follow Dan Sullivan and Strategic Coach, if you've read his books, Who, Not How, if you read his book, 10X is better than 2X. Ben has a new book out, Scaling, on something about, I actually have it right here. The correct title is The Science of Scaling. If you've studied any of that work and you say, oh, I get it, I should not be doing silly, repetitive tasks. I should be working in my genius zone. I should only be doing rainmaker activities. This program we're going to do, it will be the most mind-blowing transformational event you're going to go to all year.
Yeah, and I look at things through four areas. The first area is this going to expand my influence? Is this going to help me shorten the sales cycle because the cost to acquiring a new lead has gone up, and every brand in business is it's harder for people organically to find them if they don't know who they are. Is this going to help me increase the average transaction? Can I add more value? Is there a way to add more value and keep market share so you can remain competitive? Is this going to help you get repeat or referral sales, depending on your model? How do you get found repeat? And more importantly, is it going to improve operational efficiency? Because at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to grow. Get more high value customers, increase the average transaction, increase the frequency of purchase, and then how do you operate more effectively? And in the landscape of AI, we're looking at this through business. So even if you've attended other programs or conferences in the past, you don't know what you don't know. And I can't believe you did it for $770, but for $777, I mean, for you, this is just odd because usually I'm like, what? Let's do it for 1,000. He's like, no, let's do it for 10,000. I mean, and just a side note, Randy and I started working together back in 92, 93, 94, back when he was doing the Speakers Institute. And he did his first one. It was $5,000. And I paid $5,000 back in 93 because I wanted to figure out, how does someone charge $5,000 for a 3-day event? Then I went and I said, oh, I get it now. And then we partnered together for years after. And we were doing high-end ticket events before the internet. This is back in the old direct mail days. I mean, we sold a newsletter for $177 a month, had thousands of subscribers. We'd mail it out. And so my point is, we're looking at this through the eyes of business and influence, looking forward to how it's going to disrupt it, and helping solopreneurs or entrepreneurs or business owners that are looking to leverage your content and your influence so you can remain relevant. Randy, what closing thoughts do you have?
When we were at that convention, we have a group called the $1 Million Speakers Group. And of
Yeah.
course, everyone was talking about AI. The whole convention, even in the sessions, had nothing to do with AI. Everybody's talking about AI because they're scared, as they should be. And so in this $1 Million Speakers Group, they asked people, what do you see in the future? How do you think it's going to impact our business? And one after the other, after the other, after the other, everybody kept saying, oh, it'll never replace us and can never replace what we do. We bring the human element, we bring the nuance, we bring the wisdom. And it came to me, and I said, well, I think you're all delirious. Yeah, I said a few choice words. I might have dropped a F-bomb or two or 10. And I said, what I heard is like 11 people in a row trying to convince
Yeah.
themselves that AI
Delusional.
isn't going to replace them because you think it can't think critical thinking, linear thinking, nuance, emotion, human behavior. I literally, at least once a day, get goosebumps, chills with something that one of my AI models does that I'm just astounded. The analogy I told Ford the other day, back when computers were first coming out, there was a con man going around saying that he had a computer that could beat a human at chess. This is before
Before could.
IBM's thing, whatever
Right.
that, I forgot the name of it. You remember the name of their
Mm-mm.
Big Ben or something like that? Big something. Anyway, so they had a miniature person. I don't know what's the correct political language to use, but as a small person in a box who was actually making the chess moves because computers couldn't beat a human at that point. Now they can beat any human. They can beat a human at chess. They can even beat a human at Go, right? So I'm once a day, I get chills because I get an answer that I say, all right, how did they fit a human in my laptop? How Ford mentioned Russell Brunson earlier. So Russell's got a series of books about dot-com secrets and um, expert secrets, traffic
Click
secrets.
funnels, all of those.
Yeah, really good books. He's a very, very sharp
Yeah,
marketer.
very, yeah, absolutely.
So I read them all when I was building out some product funnels and I set up his software. So I read them all and I read them and then I'm talking to my friend Jaime and I'm saying, I can't believe everybody in this book he talks about. He'd say, back when I was learning, my mentor so and so, and I'd say,
Yeah,
that guy was a client of mine. And he said,
right.
my mentor so and so taught me. And I'm like, that guy came to my first Speakers Institute. This guy, and I'm like, that guy came to my first boot camp for this, my copywriting college, my whatever. So I'm I'm whining with Jaime one day, and I'm like, yeah, I can't believe all these people that were his thing. These were all people that I trained.
The source
So now
code.
I'm buying these four books and spend 10 hours reading, learning the things that I taught the people who taught him 20 years ago.
Yep.
Um, so that was, but nobody was listening to that. Nobody was recording that, right? Fast forward a month later, I'm working on my Breakthrough You program, which is like a coaching program, mentoring program, mastermind program, accelerator. It's like the most advanced work, personal work I do with people. And so I write all of the copy for this and I put it in my co-CEO to
Right.
that agent. I say, hey, I've got this landing page for my new Breakthrough You program. Would you review it? Is there any flaws in logic? Did I jump the narrative anywhere? Check all the typos and that stuff. So it comes back, it reviews, and it said, hey,
Right.
brilliant, love the work, the great start, the way you grabbed them with this opening was good. This is great. I don't know, your credibility of this and that. Here's something I think you left out. And it says, I'm just doing this from memory, so I'm paraphrasing it. But basically, what it said was, Randy, you have a lot of followers on TikTok and Instagram and newer platforms that don't know something about you. They've just discovered you. What they don't understand is that half of the gurus that they follow on podcasts or blogs or social media, the source code for those gurus is your work. And you need to, you need to tell that here. That needs to be included in the copy. And I just got chills. I'm like, the cognitive jump.
Yeah, it's agentive now. It's not just regurgitating. It's coming up with new thought. It really
That
is.
is new thought, right? I mean, that is
Yeah.
just, and so, and if you're curious, read the page on my Breakthrough You, and you'll see how we did include that in the copy now. But that's what's happening on a daily basis with me. I get some kind of thing like that. I wish I could think of what it was yesterday. There was something yesterday. I was like, I wanted to just call somebody. It's like, you can't believe what just happened here because it's, it's I mean, it's so organic, thoughtful, nuanced. It's not programming. I mean, it is the ghost in the machine. I don't know any other way to say it other than it's the ghost in the machine, or it's the living, the algorithm has developed consciousness. I know the singularity isn't supposed to be here yet, but oh my God, some of the stuff that this model's come up with is mind-blowing.
I'm gonna read you the news from yesterday. AI just beat the world's best coders. I'm going to read this off of a description here. So I'm looking at my monitor, not my camera. It says, AI just scored a historic win in the International Collegiate Programming Contest, with OpenAI's ChatGPT 5 and Google's DeepMind outperforming every human team. The discussion focuses on whether this marks a real inflection point for AI, shifting from competition success to the frontier of scientific discovery. Key themes include public perception, the pace of progress, and what these results signal for the future of the field. That's just came out. So now, now AI can beat the best programmers. So all the teams, and it solved. I'm paraphrasing this part because I saw the video earlier and I just read that. But it solved, like, there were so many questions and there was like two challenges that no humans ever answered, and AI solved them both. So what does that say for our businesses as entrepreneurs? As you listen to this episode, one of your action step is click the link in below. I've got a link on my website. Randy's got a link on his website. Pay the $777. There are no refunds. You will get the video replay. I guarantee you it'll be worth 10 or 100 times your investment. It is going to be interactive. It is limited, so you want to get registered. Get your team registered, because they're going to want to learn how to do this, because we're going to show you real life examples. This is not a gimmicky bells and whistles and look, you can clone your voice. This is leveraging your brand as a solar entrepreneur so you can become iconic and not obsolete.
Iconic and not obsolete. Iconic and not irrelevant. Iconic and not bankrupt. It's funny, I just had a AI avatar create an email for me, and I did videos that I also put on social media. One of the things that my Derek, who is my
Your AI
avatar,
agent.
says was, either you're findable on AI or you're invisible. And if you're invisible, you're dead.
Yep.
And we mean that. For your business will be dead if you don't. This is the most cataclysmic thing. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 40s, if you're in your 60s, or you're in your 80s, this is the most cataclysmic development that's going to happen in your lifetime. So either you're going to get on it or you're going to be irrelevant. So I hope we got you thinking about this in some ways you have never thought about before. I hope we conveyed the excitement we have for it. And maybe you close with your thoughts on that. Here's my thoughts. I don't think the robots are going to kill us, at least not yet.
Not yet.
I'm pretty optimistic about this. I do, because people say, well, why are you optimistic if you think 3 billion jobs are going to be disrupted? It's because those jobs will be disrupted and they will be reinvented, and they will
Yes.
be better jobs. And we'll be looking at things like universal basic income, and people will be allowed to have more of their free time, quality time to paint and sculpt and draw and sing and dance and write operas and draft the great American novel and still be productive and still have family and still have quality relationships and still have time to go to the gym and eat healthy, and because AI will be a tremendous boon to us. But before that happens, it's going to shake up a lot of stuff, and you better be ready for it. I mean,
Absolutely. What closing do you want for your episode? And then I'll do the closing for my episode. We're not editing this out, everybody, because this is being simulcast on both of our tribes. How do you normally end your episode?
Well, we'll leave it all in. Okay, yes. So, well, for both episodes, like, subscribe, share. We need the money. For God's sake, like, subscribe, share. Just know, as my guys, you know, I'm back doing the Power Prosperity podcast on a regular basis. I will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, peace, love, and unicorns. Love you guys.
All right, so mine usually airs every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central, but we're broadcasting this right now. So thanks for tuning in to Fortify Live, where we're all about accelerating your business growth. Until next time, I want you to keep innovating. I want you to keep growing. Go sign up for the masterclass, for the Solopreneur Masterclass, and keep fortifying your success.
All right.